There is a plant that will eliminate every weed from your pathways and garden beds in a single growing season. Not by poisoning them, not by hours of backbreaking labor, but by creating a living carpet so dense that nothing else can penetrate. A carpet that actually feeds your soil while it smothers your competition. This plant costs pennies to establish, requires zero maintenance once seeded, and delivers benefits that go far beyond weed suppression. Today, you will discover why industrial agriculture spent decades trying to eradicate this species from farms, only to watch organic growers bring it back as the cornerstone of regenerative systems. You will learn exactly how to plant it, where to plant it, and what mistakes to avoid. And by the end, you will understand why spending one afternoon seeding this miracle worker will save you 50 hours of weeding next season. But to grasp the full strategy, you need to hear the complete story, because this is not just about eliminating weeds. It is about replacing a broken system with one that works with nature instead of against it. Look at your garden pathways right now, the spaces between your raised beds, the aisles in your vegetable rows. What grows there? If you are like most gardeners, it is bare soil that you frantically weed every week. Or maybe wood chips that you have to replenish constantly as they decompose, or landscape fabric covered in mulch that eventually fails as weeds push through the seams. Every one of these solutions is temporary. Every one requires ongoing labor and expense. And every one misses a fundamental opportunity. Because that space between your beds is not just wasted ground you have to manage, it is potential. It is real estate that could be working for you instead of against you. The plant that transforms this equation is white clover, Trifolium repens. Not the tall red clover you see in pastures, not crimson clover or sweet clover. White clover, the low-growing, spreading variety that forms a dense mat only 4 to 6 inches tall. This plant has been cultivated for thousands of years, originally in Europe and Asia, then spread worldwide by farmers who understood its value. Before the chemical revolution of the 1950s, white clover was a standard component of every lawn seed mix. It was considered essential, not decorative, essential, because it did things grass could not do. It fed the soil. It stayed green through drought. It required no fertilizer. But then came synthetic nitrogen fertilizers and broadleaf herbicides. Suddenly, the industry had products to sell. And those products killed clover, so clover was rebranded as a weed. Lawn care companies told homeowners that a perfect lawn should be pure grass. Monoculture. Clover became the enemy, and an entire generation forgot why their grandparents valued it. But in gardens, especially in organic and regenerative systems, white clover is experiencing a renaissance. Gardeners are rediscovering what it can do. They are planting it deliberately, strategically, and they are finding that it solves multiple problems simultaneously. The primary function is weed suppression. White clover spreads through stolons, which are horizontal stems that run along the soil surface. Every few inches, a stolon sends down roots and sends up leaves. This creates a network, a mesh. Within one season, a properly seeded clover patch becomes so dense that light cannot reach the soil below. And without light, weed seeds cannot germinate. The few that manage to sprout find themselves smothered by the clover canopy. They cannot compete. They die. This is not temporary suppression. This is permanent domination. As long as the clover is there, weeds are not. But weed suppression is just the beginning. The second function, and arguably more important, is nitrogen fixation. White clover is a legume. Like all legumes, it has a symbiotic relationship with bacteria called rhizobia. These bacteria live in nodules on the clover roots. They take nitrogen gas from the air, which plants cannot use, and convert it into ammonia, which plants can use. This process is called nitrogen fixation. The clover uses some of this nitrogen for its own growth, but it produces more than it needs. The excess leaches into the surrounding soil. This means that beds bordered by clover pathways receive a constant, slow-release supply of nitrogen. Free nitrogen. You are not buying it. You are not applying it. The clover is manufacturing it from thin air and feeding it to your vegetables. Studies have shown that clover pathways can contribute 20 to 50 pounds of nitrogen per acre per year to adjacent beds. For a home garden, that translates to enough nitrogen to significantly reduce or even eliminate the need for supplemental fertilization. The third function is moisture retention. A living clover mat shades the soil beneath it. This reduces evaporation. Soil under clover stays moist longer than bare soil. This is especially valuable in hot, dry climates or during drought periods. Your pathways are not just bare dirt, baking in the sun and sucking moisture out of your beds. They are covered, protected, actively conserving water. You will find that beds next to clover pathways need less frequent watering than beds next to bare pathways. The difference is measurable. I have tested this with soil moisture probes. Beds with clover pathways hold moisture about 20% longer between waterings. The fourth function is pollinator support. White clover flowers profusely. Small white blooms appear from late spring through fall. These flowers are rich in nectar. They attract bees, especially honeybees and bumblebees. They also attract beneficial insects like parasitic wasps and hoverflies, which prey on garden pests like aphids and caterpillars. By planting clover in your pathways, you are creating a refuge for the organisms that pollinate your crops and control your pests. You are building biodiversity into the infrastructure of your garden. This is not an add-on. This is foundational design, and it costs you nothing beyond the initial seed. The fifth function is soil building. Clover roots are shallow, but dense. When clover plants die back each year, those roots decompose and add organic matter to the soil. The nitrogen-fixing nodules decompose and release their stored nitrogen. The result is that, over time, pathways planted with clover do not become compacted dead zones. They become enriched, biologically active zones. If you ever decide to expand a bed into a former pathway, the soil there will be better than the surrounding native soil. Clover has improved it. Now let me address the fear, the objection I hear every time I recommend clover pathways. People ask, will it invade my beds? Will it choke out my vegetables? Will I be fighting it constantly? The answer is no, if you manage it correctly. White clover is not an aggressive invader. It spreads horizontally, yes, but it does so slowly, and it stays low. It does not climb. It does not vine. It does not send deep taproots under your beds and pop up in the middle of your tomatoes. It respects boundaries. The key is creating a physical edge. If your beds are raised, even just a few inches, the clover will not climb over the edge. It will stop at the border. If your beds are level with the pathways, you need to maintain a clear edge. A trench, a line of stones. Anything that breaks the continuous surface. Clover needs contact. It spreads by touching the ground with its stolons. If there is a gap, it does not cross. I have clover pathways running through my garden. My beds have 4-inch raised edges made from untreated lumber. In 5 years, I have never had clover invade a bed. Not once, because the physical barrier stops it. The second concern is competition. People worry that clover roots will steal nutrients and water from adjacent vegetables. This concern is backwards. Clover is not depleting nutrients, it is adding them. The nitrogen it fixes benefits everything nearby. As for water, yes, clover uses water. But because it shades the soil and reduces evaporation, the net effect is positive. More moisture is conserved than is consumed. Studies on clover living mulch systems show that crops grown next to clover pathways often outperform crops grown next to bare pathways. Not because the clover is passive, because it is actively improving conditions. So, how do you establish white clover pathways? Let me walk you through the process step by step. First, choose your timing. The best time to seed clover is early spring or early fall. In spring, seed as soon as the soil can be worked and frost danger has passed. In fall, seed 6 to 8 weeks before the first expected frost. This gives the clover time to establish before winter. You can seed in summer, but germination rates are lower in heat, and you will need to water more frequently to keep the seedbed moist. Second, prepare the pathway. If you are starting with bare soil, you are ready to go. If you are starting with existing weeds, you need to clear them first. You can till, you can smother with cardboard and wait a month. You can hand weed. Or if the weeds are not too thick, you can mow them as short as possible and seed right over them. Clover is competitive enough to outgrow light weed pressure, but heavy weed pressure will slow establishment. The cleaner your start, the faster the clover dominates. Third, prepare the seed. White clover seed is tiny. 1 pound contains about 700,000 seeds. A little goes a long way. The standard seeding rate is 1 to 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet. For most home gardens, a single pound will cover all your pathways. If you want faster establishment, use 2 pounds. If you are patient and cost-conscious, use 1 pound. Both will work. The higher rate just fills in faster. Before you seed, some people recommend inoculating the seed with rhizobia bacteria. This ensures that the nitrogen-fixing relationship establishes quickly. You can buy inoculant powder from seed suppliers. Just shake the seed and inoculant together in a bag. But honestly, in most soils, native rhizobia populations are sufficient. The clover will find the bacteria it needs. Inoculant helps in new or disturbed soils, but it is not essential. Fourth, seed the pathways. The challenge with clover seed is that it is so small. It is hard to spread evenly by hand. The trick is to mix it with a carrier. Sand works. Sawdust works. I use cheap chicken scratch grain. Mix 1 pound of clover seed with 5 pounds of carrier. This dilutes the seed and makes it easier to broadcast evenly. Walk slowly down each pathway, tossing the mixture side to side as you go. You are not trying for perfect precision. Clover is forgiving. Thin spots will fill in over time. Thick spots will thin themselves as plants compete. Just aim for even coverage. Fifth, ensure seed to soil contact. Clover seed needs to touch soil to germinate. If it lands on top of loose mulch or thick plant debris, it will not sprout. After broadcasting, lightly rake the pathways. You are not burying the seed. You are just pressing it into the soil surface. Or you can skip raking and instead walk on the seeded pathways. Your footsteps will press the seed down. Some gardeners use a lawn roller. Any method that achieves contact works. Sixth, water. This is critical. Clover seed is small. It has minimal stored energy. It must germinate quickly. Keep the seeded pathways moist for the first 2 weeks. Not soaking, not puddled, just consistently moist. In hot weather, this might mean watering lightly every day. In cool weather, every 2 or 3 days. Once you see green, you can back off. Once the seedlings have 2 or 3 true leaves, they are established. From that point forward, they need no supplemental water in most climates. They survive on rainfall. Within 4 to 6 weeks of seeding, you will have visible clover coverage. It will still be patchy, gaps between plants. This is normal. By 12 weeks, the gaps will be closing. By the end of the first season, you will have a solid mat. And by the second season, you will have a carpet so thick that you could try to plant a weed and it would not succeed. The pathway is locked down. Permanent, self-maintaining. How much time does this save? Let me give you real numbers. I have a 1,200 square foot garden. Before I planted clover pathways, I spent about 2 hours per week weeding pathways during the growing season. That is roughly 50 hours over a 6-month season. Now I spend 0 hours weeding pathways. The clover handles it. I mow the pathways 2 or 3 times per season just to keep them tidy, but mowing is optional. Some people never mow. They let the clover grow tall, flower, and set seed. The self-seeding ensures perpetual coverage. So, at minimum, clover saves me 50 hours per year. At maximum, it saves me 50 hours, plus eliminates the need for mulch replacement, which was another 10 hours and $100 in material costs annually. The return on investment is absurd. One afternoon of seeding pays dividends forever. Do you currently use any living ground cover in your garden, or is everything bare soil and mulch? Leave a comment and let me know. I am curious how many people have already discovered this or are hearing about it for the first time. Now let us talk about where to plant clover beyond pathways. Because pathways are the obvious application, but there are other strategic locations where clover delivers massive benefits. The first is orchard understory. If you have fruit trees or a small orchard, the area under the canopy is often bare soil or grass that you mow. This is wasted potential. Plant white clover under your trees. It will thrive in the partial shade. It will fix nitrogen and feed the trees. It will attract pollinators during bloom time. It will prevent erosion on slopes. And it will eliminate the need to mow or weed that space. Just seed it once and forget it. The clover will self-maintain for decades. I have apples, pears, and plums underplanted with clover. The trees are healthier, the yields are higher, and I never touch the understory except to harvest fruit. The second location is around perennials. If you have perennial vegetable beds, asparagus, rhubarb, artichokes, or perennial herbs like oregano and thyme, clover makes an excellent companion. Seed it around the base of the perennials. It will suppress weeds that would otherwise compete. It will feed nitrogen to the perennials. And because perennials are in the ground year-round, the clover can establish without being disturbed by annual tillage. The third location is between wide rows in annual vegetable beds. If you space your vegetable rows 3 feet apart instead of the typical 18 inches, you can seed clover in the middle. This is called alley cropping or living mulch. The clover grows in the alley. It fixes nitrogen. It shades the soil. It provides habitat for beneficial insects. And when you harvest your vegetables and till the bed for the next crop, you simply till under the clover. It becomes green manure. All that nitrogen and organic matter gets incorporated into the bed. This system has been studied extensively in research trials. Results consistently show that vegetables grown with clover alleys produce yields equal to or better than vegetables grown with bare soil alleys, while requiring less fertilizer and less weeding. The only downside is that you need more space. But if you have the space, the benefits are undeniable. The fourth location is in areas you want to convert from lawn to garden eventually. If you have a section of lawn that you plan to turn into garden beds in a year or two, overseed it with clover now. Let the clover establish. It will outcompete the grass over time. When you are ready to convert, you will have soil that is nitrogen-rich, weed-free, and easy to work. The clover roots will have loosened the topsoil. You can till it directly, or you can smother it with cardboard and compost and plant right on top. Either way, the clover has prepared the ground for you. If you are finding this valuable, hit that subscribe button now. Give the video a thumbs up. It helps more gardeners discover these forgotten techniques that actually work better than what the industry tries to sell us. Now I need to address a specific concern that comes up frequently. What about vegetable beds themselves? Can you plant clover inside the beds with your vegetables? The answer is yes, but with caveats. This is advanced technique called undersowing or intercropping. You plant your vegetables first, let them establish for a few weeks. Then you broadcast clover seed between the vegetable rows. The clover grows underneath and around the vegetables. It suppresses weeds. It fixes nitrogen. But it also competes for light, water, and space. Whether this competition is beneficial or detrimental depends on the crop, the climate, and your management. In general, undersowing works best with tall crops that shade out the clover once they reach full size. Tomatoes, peppers, corn, pole beans. The vegetables grow tall, the clover stays low underneath. No conflict. It also works well with early spring crops like lettuce and peas. You plant the vegetables in early spring. You seed clover a few weeks later. By the time the clover is establishing, the vegetables are nearly ready to harvest. After harvest, the clover fills in and holds the bed through summer. In fall, you can till it under and replant. Or you can transplant fall crops directly into the clover mat. Undersowing does not work well with low, sprawling crops, squash, melons, cucumbers. These plants want to spread. They and the clover will tangle and compete. It also does not work well in very dry climates unless you have reliable irrigation. The competition for water becomes too intense. You will stress both the clover and the vegetables, so use this technique selectively. Test it on a small scale. See what works in your specific conditions. Do not assume it will work everywhere just because it works somewhere. Another variation worth mentioning is using clover as a cover crop. Instead of planting it as a permanent pathway, you plant it in beds during the off-season. For example, after you harvest summer vegetables in August, you seed the bed with clover. It grows through fall and winter. In spring, you mow it or till it under. The nitrogen it fixed and the organic matter it produced are now available for your next crop. This is a rotation strategy. Clover is 1 year, vegetables are the next year, alternating. This prevents soil depletion. It breaks pest and disease cycles. And it eliminates the need to leave beds bare and weedy during off-season. Now let me talk about alternatives to white clover. Because white clover is excellent, but it is not the only option for living mulch. There are other plants that serve similar functions. The first alternative is crimson clover, Trifolium incarnatum. This is an annual clover with showy red flowers. It grows taller than white clover, up to 2 feet. It is more cold hardy, so it works better in northern climates, where white clover struggles. It fixes nitrogen aggressively. But because it is an annual, it dies after flowering. You need to reseed it every year or let it self-seed. It is not a permanent pathway solution like white clover, but it is excellent as a seasonal cover crop or as a living mulch in annual beds. The second alternative is hairy vetch, Vicia villosa. This is a legume like clover. It fixes nitrogen. It forms a dense mat. But it is a vine. It climbs and sprawls. This makes it great for smothering weeds in fallow areas, but difficult to manage in pathways where you need to walk. Hairy vetch is best used as a winter cover crop. Seed it in fall. It grows through winter. In spring, it flowers with beautiful purple blooms that bees love. Then you mow it and till it under. The nitrogen boost is massive. Some studies show hairy vetch can fix up to 100 pounds of nitrogen per acre. That is double what white clover provides. The third alternative is white mustard, not a legume. Does not fix nitrogen, but it grows fast, really fast. You can seed it and have full coverage in 4 weeks. It suppresses weeds through rapid canopy formation and through allelopathy. Mustard roots release compounds that inhibit the germination of other plants. This is why mustard is used as a biofumigant. After it grows, you till it under. As it decomposes, it releases those allelopathic compounds into the soil, suppressing weed seeds and soil-borne diseases. Mustard is a short-term solution. You seed it. You grow it for 6 to 8 weeks. You till it. You plant your crop. It is not permanent like clover, but it is incredibly effective for rapid weed suppression and soil improvement. The fourth alternative is a mix. Instead of planting one species, you plant a blend. White clover plus crimson clover plus hairy vetch, or white clover plus annual ryegrass. The diversity provides resilience. If one species struggles in your conditions, another thrives. The mix also provides staggered benefits. Fast-growing species establish quickly and suppress weeds immediately. Slow-growing species fill in over time and provide long-term coverage. Many seed companies sell pre-mixed cover crop blends designed for specific goals: pollinator blends, nitrogen-fixing blends, weed suppression blends. These can be excellent, but read the label. Make sure the mix does not include aggressive spreaders that will invade your beds. Stick with low-growing, manageable species. Now let us go deeper into the biology of why clover is so effective at weed suppression. Because understanding the mechanism makes you better at using the tool. Weeds are opportunists. They thrive in disturbed, open soil. They germinate fast. They grow fast. They produce massive amounts of seed. Their strategy is to colonize empty space before anything else can. But clover disrupts this strategy at every stage. First, clover leaves create shade. Most weed seeds are small. They have limited energy reserves. They need light to trigger germination. Even a thin clover canopy reduces light at the soil surface by 60 to 80%. This is enough to prevent germination of most common garden weeds: pigweed, lambsquarters, purslane, crabgrass. All of these need light. No light, no germination. Second, clover roots create competition. The dense, fibrous root mat of clover occupies the topsoil. It extracts water and nutrients aggressively. When a weed seed does manage to germinate in a gap, the clover roots are already there. They outcompete the weed seedling for resources. The weed struggles. It grows slowly. Often, it dies before reaching reproductive maturity. Even if it survives, it is stunted and produces few seeds. Over time, the weed seed bank in the soil is depleted. Fewer seeds mean fewer weeds. The problem diminishes year by year. Third, clover creates physical obstruction. The stolons and leaves form a mat, a network. Weed seedlings trying to push through this mat expend energy. They etiolate, stretching thin and weak as they search for light. By the time they break through, they are so weakened that they cannot compete. Many collapse and die. This is mechanical suppression, simple but effective. Fourth, clover supports beneficial organisms. The flowers attract pollinators and predatory insects. The roots support soil fungi and bacteria. These organisms create a biologically active environment. In such environments, weed seeds are more likely to be eaten by seed-feeding insects or decomposed by fungi before they germinate. Clover does not just suppress weeds through direct competition, it creates conditions where weeds are less successful overall. But clover is not invincible. There are a few weeds that can coexist with it. Dandelions, for example. They have deep taproots that reach below the clover root zone. They can push up through the clover canopy. Plantain is similar, broad leaves, low rosette. It can grow alongside clover without being shaded out. White clover will not eliminate these perennial weeds, but it will reduce their spread. And honestly, a few dandelions in a clover pathway are not a problem. They are not invasive. They are not ugly. They flower and provide pollen. I do not mind them. If you do, you can hand pull them. It takes seconds because the clover holds the soil loose. The roots slide out cleanly. Now let me share some numbers to make this concrete. I tracked my garden over 3 years. Year 1 before clover. I spent an average of 90 minutes per week weeding pathways and edges during the growing season. That is approximately 54 hours total. Year 2, I seeded clover in spring. For the first 8 weeks, I still had to weed as the clover established. Maybe 30 minutes per week. After week 8, weeding dropped to almost nothing. Total time for the year, about 12 hours. Year 3, 0 pathway weeding. Literally 0. The clover was so dense that not a single weed came through. I mowed the pathways twice, just to keep them looking tidy, but that was optional. Total time spent on pathway management, 2 hours for mowing. The time savings are staggering. 54 hours in year 1, 12 hours in year 2, 2 hours in year 3. That is a 96% reduction in labor. And those hours were not wasted. I redirected them into planting more beds, trying new crops, and actually enjoying the garden instead of being a slave to it. Let me also talk about cost. A 1-pound bag of white clover seed costs about $10 to $15, depending on the supplier. That pound will cover 1,000 square feet at light seeding, or 500 square feet at heavy seeding. My entire garden pathway system is about 600 square feet. I used 2 pounds of seed to be safe. Total cost, $30. In exchange, I eliminated the need for wood chip mulch, which I was buying every year. 6 cubic yards at $40 per yard. That is $240 annually. The clover paid for itself in the first year and continues saving me money every year after. Over 5 years, that is $1,200 saved for a $30 investment. The return is 40 to 1. Show me any garden input with a return like that. Beyond the economic and labor savings, there is an aesthetic dimension. Clover pathways are beautiful. Lush green carpets that stay vibrant even in heat. When they flower, the pathways are dotted with white blooms and buzzing with bees. It transforms the garden from a utilitarian space into a living ecosystem. Visitors always comment on it. They ask what it is. They are surprised when I tell them it is just clover. They have been conditioned to think of clover as a weed, something to eradicate from lawns. Seeing it used intentionally, thriving, supporting the garden, shifts their perception. And that shift is important, because it opens the door to rethinking other assumptions. If clover is not a weed, what else have we been wrong about? If living pathways work better than bare soil, what other industrial gardening practices are backwards? This is the deeper lesson. The system we inherited, the one taught in conventional gardening books and sold in garden centers, is designed to keep you dependent. Dependent on products, dependent on inputs, dependent on experts. Every problem has a product. Weeds require herbicide. Poor soil requires fertilizer. Pests require pesticide. But these products do not solve the root cause. They treat symptoms. And in many cases, they create new problems that require more products. It is a cycle, a trap. Living mulch, clover pathways, nitrogen-fixing plants, these are not products. They are strategies. They solve problems at the source. They build systems that self-regulate. And once established, they need almost nothing from you. That is freedom. That is resilience. That is what gardening should be. Now I want to address some practical questions I get asked frequently. First, what if I have shade? Will clover grow in shade? White clover tolerates partial shade reasonably well. It will not thrive in deep shade, but it handles 4 to 6 hours of sun per day. If your pathways are shaded by tall crops or structures for part of the day, clover will still work. It just grows a bit thinner. If you have heavy shade, consider using a shade-tolerant ground cover like creeping thyme or ajuga instead. Second, what if I have heavy foot traffic? Will clover survive being walked on? Yes. White clover is remarkably resilient to foot traffic. The prostrate growth habit and flexible stems allow it to bend under pressure and spring back. In fact, it handles traffic better than grass. The one caveat is wet conditions. If you walk on clover when the soil is saturated, you will compact the soil and damage the plants. Avoid heavy traffic during wet periods. Otherwise, walk freely. Third, what if I want to remove it later? Can I get rid of clover if I change my mind? Yes. Clover is not invasive in the noxious sense. If you decide you do not want it, you can till it under. Or you can smother it with thick mulch or cardboard. Within 1 season, it will be gone. It does not leave behind persistent roots or rhizomes that resprout forever. It is tenacious when you want it, but removable when you do not. Fourth, will clover attract pests? Some people worry that flowering clover will attract bees, which might sting. This is a non-issue for most people. Honeybees and bumblebees are not aggressive. They are focused on nectar collection. I have walked barefoot through flowering clover countless times and never been stung. The bees simply move aside. If you are severely allergic to bee stings, this is a legitimate concern, and you might choose to mow the clover before it flowers to prevent blooms. But for the vast majority of gardeners, the bees are a benefit, not a problem. Fifth, does clover attract rodents? Will it provide cover for mice or voles that damage crops? I have not found this to be an issue. Rodents prefer thick, tall cover, like unmowed grass or dense brush. Clover is too short and open. They do not nest in it. If you already have rodent pressure, clover will not make it worse. If you do not, it will not create it. Let me share one more case study to illustrate the long-term benefits. A friend of mine has a market garden, half an acre of intensive vegetable production. 5 years ago, he was spending 200 hours per season managing pathways, weeding, mulching, remulching. It was endless and expensive. He was buying mulch by the truckload. I convinced him to try clover. He was skeptical. He thought it would invade his beds and create more work. But he trusted me enough to test it on a small section, 1 row of beds with clover pathways, 1 row with his usual mulch pathways. By mid-season, the difference was obvious. The clover pathways had 0 weeds. The mulch pathways had weeds poking through everywhere. The beds next to the clover pathways looked healthier, greener, more vigorous. He expanded the clover the next year, then the year after. Now his entire garden has clover pathways. He has not weeded a pathway in 3 years. He has not bought mulch in 3 years. And his yields have increased, not because he changed his fertilizer or pest management, because the clover is feeding nitrogen to his beds and supporting beneficial insects. He estimates that clover has saved him $3,000 and 300 hours over 5 years. And he says the best part is not even the savings. It is the peace of mind. He does not dread pathway maintenance anymore. It is handled permanently. This is what I want for you. I want you to experience the relief of having one major garden task completely eliminated, not reduced. Eliminated. I want you to walk through your garden and see green pathways that need nothing from you. I want you to redirect the hours you currently waste on weeding into activities that actually matter. Planting, harvesting, experimenting, resting, whatever you choose. Because gardening should be joyful. It should be creative. It should not be an endless battle against nature. When you work with nature, when you plant systems that self-maintain, gardening becomes what it was always meant to be. Not labor, partnership. So here is what I want you to do. This week, order white clover seed. You can find it online or at farm supply stores. Do not overthink the variety. Any white clover will work. Dutch white is the most common and the cheapest. Next weekend, prep 1 pathway. Just 1. The path between 2 beds. Clear it, rake it smooth, broadcast the seed, water it, then wait. In a month, you will see the difference. In 3 months, you will be convinced. And next year, you will seed the rest. Because once you see it work, you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to bare pathways and weekly weeding. The shift is permanent. And one more thing. When your neighbors ask what that green carpet is, tell them, share the knowledge, give them some seed. Because every person who plants clover is one less person buying herbicides and synthetic fertilizers. Every clover pathway is a small rebellion against the industrial system that wants to keep us dependent and ignorant. This is how change happens, not through grand gestures, through small, practical choices that accumulate. 1 pathway, 1 garden, 1 season at a time. Now, before you go, I need to ask. Are you going to try planting clover this year? Or are you still on the fence? Leave a comment and tell me honestly. If you have hesitations, share them. If you are excited, share that too. I read every comment. I respond to questions. This is a community. We learn from each other. And if this video gave you actionable information that will save you time and money, hit subscribe, smash that like button. Share this with anyone who gardens. Because the more people who know this, the less power the system has over us. Every gardener who plants clover is a gardener who has reclaimed a piece of independence. And that is what this channel is about. Not tips and tricks. Liberation. The freedom to grow food without being a slave to corporate inputs. The freedom to work less and harvest more. The freedom to let nature do the heavy lifting while you reap the benefits. The clover seed is waiting. The pathways are waiting. The choice is yours. But I promise you this, if you take the step, if you plant that first pathway, you will look back a year from now and wonder why you did not do it sooner. The weeds will be gone. The soil will be richer. The bees will be humming. And you will have 50 hours back in your life to do whatever you want. That is not a small thing. That is transformation. And it starts with 1 handful of tiny seeds scattered on bare ground. Do it. You will not regret it.